All right, UFC Fight Night Walker vs Zhang has gone down. Now, I've done this video like 5 times. I can't be bothered to put my face on camera again after all this. It's exhausting. So I've just abandoned the setup for this one just because it's a bit late at night and the lighting just doesn't look the best right now. So anyway, let's get into the card. We had the first fight of the night, which was Yuran Soltabadiev versus Dija Nergoshe. Fight went exactly how I expected, to be fair. I just knew Yuran would get that submission. I picked him by submission. I don't know if his path to victory was the submission, if that was the favorite path to victory, or if it was the KO, because he did get a knockdown as well. But I don't know. I just knew you'd get a submission again. If you're getting subbed by Ribeiro, I just know that Yuran's got a very good shot of subbing you, because Yuran's not bad. You know, he had a tough fight with Martin Buday, and like Martin Buday, even though he doesn't look the most scary, he's actually a very skilled fighter. You know, justice for Martin Buday. I can't believe they cut him. You know, very undeserved. But it is what it is. But regardless, Yuran gets the knockdown over Dija, gets a submission, and, you know, it looked pretty impressive. You know, dominant, didn't really like... Dija just had nothing here, and I don't know if he really had a hype train, especially after he lost to Ribeiro, but, you know, it just shows that just because you're from Kazakhstan doesn't mean you're going to be like this next crazy killer. Like, I don't know, Kazakhstan's got a reputation for like, oh, all their fighters are really good. Like, they've got very good fighters, don't get me wrong, but like the guy in The Ultimate Fighter who lost last week, Alibi, then this guy, like, I don't know, people act like all Kazakhs are like they're acting like the Kazakhs are like the Dagestanis, where like every fighter they have is like an absolute killer. But I don't think that's the case, you know, but I don't know. I mean, Yuran's from Kyrgyzstan. Maybe the Kyrgyz are just better than the Kazakh fighters at this point. But yeah, good win by Yuran. Impressive performance. And we'll see what's next from the light heavyweight division. Then we had Su Young Yu versus Long Zhao. Good performance by Su Young Yu. He looked very good in this fight. Showcased some pretty good striking on the feet. Showcased the clinch a lot. Dirty boxing. You know, couldn't really showcase his grappling too much because Long Zhao had a lot of good striking defense. Takedown defense, sorry. Neither of these guys had good striking defense. They were just eating shot after shot, which made it very entertaining. At one point in this fight, Long Zhao in the third round, the only round I gave him, he just started elbowing. It was like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It was like 35 elbows. They just did like a Max Holloway. Justin Gaethje like point to the center and just threw elbow after elbow. It was awesome. It's very cool. But yeah, I thought Su Young Yu clearly won. Thought he won the first 2 rounds. He gets the fight. Good performance. He's now on a 3-fight winning streak in the UFC, I believe. Let's have a look. Yeah, he's got 3 UFC wins. I mean, technically 2, because like they don't count that road to UFC final. But I'm counting it. 3-0 in the UFC, very impressive. We'll see what's next for him in the Bantamweight division. Then we had a Yizar versus Weston Wilson. Now, Weston Wilson just came in like an absolute victim. Came in with an absolute victim with his chin on a silver platter, and he got brutally slapped by Yizar. I mean, this is sort of just what we expected, right? I mean, nobody in their right mind thought Weston Wilson was going to win. Weston Wilson is not UFC level. I like the guy. He seems like a very nice guy, but he's just brought in here to just give a Chinese guy a nice, easy win. He just got up, like he flew all the way from China and got absolutely slept in 37 seconds. And it wasn't even just 37 seconds. He got dropped like 20 seconds in, you know? Like he's not UFC level. He never has been. He's 17-10. He's 36 years of age. I don't know if they're going to cut him or not. They might just use him to build some guy up, but like, good lord, man, this guy just shouldn't be in the UFC. And I'm not saying that because I'm being nasty to the guy, but it's just not good for his health. You know, the guy shouldn't be mixing it up with the best in the world. He's just clearly not UFC level. Which is, you know, how bad is Jekasaragi, you know, but yeah, good performance by Yizar, but there's not really much else you can say about this. Then we had Kyle Dawkins versus Michel Pereira. Now, I thought Kyle Dawkins had a good shot of winning. I picked Michel Pereira, but I didn't think if Kyle Dawkins was to win, it would be early, 30 seconds in to be, or 43 seconds. But getting a knockdown 30 seconds in, I didn't think that would be the path to victory by Kyle Dawkins. But, you know, he's been yapping a lot on Twitter. I say yapping, but he's just been talking a lot, saying like, "Oh yeah, I'll beat this guy. I'll step in. They want nobody wants to fight me." Maybe he really has improved a lot because his like striking was never that good in his first run in the UFC. But he came in here short notice, sleeps Michel Pereira. If he was to beat Michel Pereira, you'd assume like, oh yeah, he'll gas out Pereira, and then or maybe Pereira gasses himself out, and then Kyle Dawkins gets the win. But no, this is not the case at all. Kyle Dawkins gets a fresh Michel Pereira out of there. That's crazy to me. I mean, I feel like Fluffy just took a lot out of Michel Pereira with that beating. Both made him not want to throw, and also, took a lot of damage in that fight. But yeah, just crazy to me. Crazy to me that Kyle Dawkins goes in there, sleeps him early. Kyle Dawkins title run. This is the new Brendan Moreno. This is the new Charles de Bronx. He's having a career turnaround. I mean, Moreno literally got cut from the UFC, came back, became champ. Maybe Kyle Dawkins is that guy. Maybe Kyle Dawkins is the guy who really stops Khamzat Chimaev. I doubt that's the case, but you never know in this sport. It's a crazy, crazy sport. Then we had Rongzhu versus Austin Hubbard. Rongzhu just put on a great performance, masterclass in the skills, beats him up, stuffs the takedowns. Austin Hubbard just very one-dimensional. He just shoots a lot of takedowns, and even with his actual striking, he's just like one shot. He'll throw a good body shot, but he doesn't really mix up good combos. It's just all singular shots. It felt like, well, Rongzhu was just mixing up a little bit and beat him down. He got a very good performance. Did Rongzhu, so good on him. Austin Hubbard probably gets cut after that, but it was a pretty fun fight, but I think that's 3 fights in a row, right? Yeah, that's 3 losses. I can't imagine they could keep Austin Hubbard around. Unless he's like a short notice replacement. So yeah, good performance by Rongzhu. He's really coming into his own. That first run of the UFC wasn't that good. But he looks like he has improved. He's improving. I mean, you could tell he improved when he fought Cody Steele. He looked really good against Cody Steele. So yeah, good on Rongzhu. Then we have Charles Johnson versus Lona Kavanagh. He did it again. He can't keep getting away with this. He just can't keep getting away with this. Charles Johnson beats another prospect. He does it again. He beats another flyweight prospect. No, he musters up all of his skills. He musters up all of that fighting spirit so he can beat fucking Joshua Van. So he can beat Lona Kavanagh. So he can beat like Azmat Maxam, but no, he doesn't muster it up though when he fights Cody Durden and Odie Osborne. No, he loses. He can lose to those guys though. I don't know. Flyweight, you've got a Christian Rodriguez. You got another Christian Rodriguez, a guy who can loses to the veterans, but he beats all these up and coming guys. Lona Kavanagh looked really good, man. He looked good in the first round. He was beating up on Charles Johnson, looking fucking nice and quick, fluid. Hurt him to the eye at one point. Landed some good kicks, some good punches. Just having his way a little bit with Charles Johnson. Second round comes along. I don't know why he decided to do this. Decided to wrestle. And I think he gassed himself out or something because he slowed down after that point. Then he runs at Lona Kavanagh with his hands down. Lona Kavanagh is gassing. And then at one point, he lands a good shot on Johnson and just moves forward with his hands down, walks towards him. Not even he's not got a stance or anything, or he's using his footwork or anything. Literally just walks like he's going to go fucking dap him up. What's going on, bro? I don't know. It was weird. Does that though? Walks right into a big shot and gets fucking knocked out. It wasn't even a TKO. He just straight got knocked out. It really is a shame because he looked really good in this fight. He really was just beating up on Charles Johnson until he wasn't. But Charles Johnson always had that really good cardio. Always has maybe a bad first round, but he always comes back. And, this fight was no exception. Charles Johnson just has to keep beating these prospects. But, Lona Kavanagh will be back. I think Lona Kavanagh will be a contender at some point in his career. But this was just a learning experience for him. When you think about it, this was a big step up, from Felipe dos Santos to getting Charles Johnson this quickly, But, Charles Johnson gets the win. He's 18-7 now. And we'll see who he gets. I guess we're going to throw him to the next prospect. I don't know, maybe you could do him versus Steve Erceg. He's not the next prospect. He's fought for the belt, but you know what I mean. Someone like that. But yeah, good performance by Charles Johnson. Good performance by both guys. No one really loses stock in this fight. I feel like Lona Kavanagh gained some because he had a good performance against a guy in Charles Johnson who is a pretty tough customer. And also, like, he got a takedown. That's impressive because Charles Johnson has pretty good takedown defense. Makayev had a lot of trouble getting him down. He had. I feel like Lona Kavanagh got him down a bit easier than Makayev did at points. But anyway, moving on up, we had Gage Young versus Mahashate. Gage Young just won this fight via being better everywhere. Beat him up, pieced him up, took him down at points. And yeah, won clear fight. I thought the third round went to Mahashate, but I wouldn't say like I was, couldn't go to Gage Young. I leaned more towards Mahashate with his shots, but if you want to give that 30-27 to Gage Young, I'm not going to complain about that either. But yeah, good performance. Mahashate beat Steve Garcia, who beat Kelvin Keita, sorry. Who's beat a lot of good fighters. So you're just like, how good is Quillan Sourkild really is the question we're going to go in. The MMA math says pretty damn good. Obviously, MMA math doesn't work, but, shout out to Quillan Sourkild for being able to beat Gage Young, who's very good. He's got a lot of potential. I know he lost to Evan Elder, but Evan Elder's really good himself. This was sort of just like levels. Sourkild better than him, or even like you want to look at the UFC. Evan Elder, 30-27 is Gage Young. Gage Young, 30-27 is Mahashate. Just sort of shows the level. There is levels to every bit. There's always a guy a level above in these lower ranked fights. And, clearly Gage Young shows a level above. Good performance. Then we had Taliak Narajai versus Kiefer Crosby. Great performance by Taliak, but it's worth mentioning, did just straight illegally knee Kiefer Crosby badly. Like one of the worst illegal knees I've ever seen, to be honest. And like Kiefer Crosby, shout out to him. He got busted open badly, but he kept fighting. You got to respect that. He really didn't have to keep fighting. He could have taken the DQ, and he could have taken the DQ, and that would have been like his career could have kept going. He could have stayed in the UFC, but he didn't take the DQ. Then he gets slept 30 seconds later. Very big shame for Kiefer Crosby. He's a warrior though. They probably should cut him because he is 0-3. But honestly, he didn't have to keep fighting. He could have taken a DQ win there. Like if anything's fair, they give him at least another shot. I don't think he'll win. Like I don't think he's UFC level, but I mean the guy didn't have to keep fighting. He could have just been a coward and taken the DQ win. But he was a warrior. You should reward that. And Taliak. He looks very good. Those elbows were nasty, and he's a pretty good welterweight prospect. So that's another welterweight prospect we've got. I don't know if he's I don't see him going on to do too many great things, but we'll see. We'll see if he improves more. Because, I don't know, we didn't really get to see him showcase his striking too much. It was more the grappling here. He's typically more of a striker, so yeah, I guess we'll see how it all plays out, to quote Dana White. But then moving on up, we had Sumidurgi versus Kevin Borges. I'm just going to talk about this fight very briefly. Kevin Borges had a very boring performance here. It's like he didn't want to win. He didn't want to hurt his opponent, and it's a bit hard to do in a combat sport. Sumidurgi wins the fight, outstrikes him, outlands him. Good performance by Sumidurgi. Gets a 30-27 here over Kevin Borges. How bad is lazy boy Ronaldo Rodriguez really? Then we had Sergey Pavlovich versus Wardo Cortez Acosta. What a weird fight this one was, to be honest with you. Pavlovich, I don't think he's ever going to get a KO again after that Tom Aspinall fight because he landed some big shots, but just doesn't commit as much as he used to. Now, he fought very smart here, very tactically. So you got to respect him for that. He's fighting a lot smarter, so maybe it's not even just Tom Aspinall. I mean, I think it definitely influenced it because he doesn't want to go too hard and get chinned like he did against Tom. But great performance by Sergey Pavlovich. Not the most entertaining, but it was at least better than the Rosenstruck fight, sorry. The Josenio Rosenstruck fight. That was a boring fight. This one was a bit better. He threw a lot more output this time around. Landed so many big shots. And, I don't even think it's just maybe, Pavlovich just doesn't want to exchange like crazy anymore. I also think Wardo Cortez Acosta's chin needs a shout out because he did take some big shots and he ate them pretty damn well. Wardo Cortez Acosta is a tough bastard. And he showed it, clearly lost every round. Somehow his plot armor managed to two judges to give him round two, I think it was. It makes no sense to me how any judge can score that fight. Or not score a round to Wardo Cortez Acosta. He just clearly lost every round. Pavlovich had the bigger shots. He had more shots. I don't know what they was thinking. I think maybe he danced a little bit like, oh, that means he's winning. But yeah, Pavlovich just clearly wins. Good performance, but not the most entertaining. But, you got to do what you got to do sometimes. Then we had Aljamain Sterling versus Brian Ortega. Sterling just wins every round, just dominates here. Not a great performance from Brian Ortega. I know he had a bad weight cut. I heard that he was unresponsive for a very long time when he fainted after his weight cut. And he walked out here like he was still very compromised. He didn't look good. Featherweight needs to stop. He needs to move up to lightweight. I know people can say, well, this was a 153-pound catchweight. He definitely cut down to featherweight. He just passed out while doing it. Then they had to rehydrate him. And I think he might have had to cut down to 153. I don't know what the gist of it all is, but I just know this man can't fight at featherweight anymore. The weight cut's killing him, quite literally. And Aljamain could have honestly just grappled early and got this fight over and done with. He really showed that in that fifth round. He really could have just landed some big damage on the ground and got this done early, but it sort of felt like he didn't want to hurt Brian Ortega, really. I don't know, it was weird. There was one point, and I think it was the second round, where Aljo could have got a finish. He hurt Brian Ortega's eye with a punch, and he stopped because he thought it was an eye poke. And Herb even told him to keep fighting, but then Herb did stop it. Even though he knew it was a punch, he stopped it and gave Brian Ortega time to recover. Which is very annoying, very annoying. Aljamain could have maybe got a TKO on the feet for the first time in his career, but no. Lost that. He doesn't, I don't know, I guess he just doesn't have the killer instinct like that. And Brian Ortega recovers. 5 rounds. Aljamain just wins the whole fight. 5th round. I honestly, at one point in that 5th round, I thought he flush KO'd Brian Ortega with the ground and pound. I don't know if he really did, but Brian Ortega definitely looked hurt from some of that ground and pound. But yeah, great performance by Aljamain Sterling. Called for Volk. You're not going to get Volk. You should fight Arnold Allen or the winner of Gene Silva versus Lopez, especially if Lopez wins. But yeah, he's just not going to get a title shot next. It's just not going to happen. But you can maybe do him versus Arnold Allen. I wouldn't mind it. I feel like that could be a really good fight. Because yeah, Aljo needs to work his way up a little bit more. The UFC don't like you, and that performance isn't the most entertaining. Looked a lot improved on the striking, though. I'll give him that. Looked very improved with the striking, but no power, no pop on his shots. I feel like anybody else is getting Brian Ortega after fainting. They're probably knocking him out cold. I know he's got a good chin. He's never been finished, but he does get dropped in every fight except against Aljo. But anyway, then we have Johnny Walker versus Mingyang Zhang. Man, I'm annoyed I didn't pick Johnny Walker because all week I was saying I could see Johnny Walker winning. I don't know why I didn't pick him. In my fucking heart, in my mind, I could just tell it was going to happen, but I believed in the mountain lion, the mountain tiger. I don't know. Just thought he was going to get it done. But, I mean, he did very good the first round. Johnny Walker is a bit of a cheeky prick in the first round. Doesn't touch gloves, shoots a takedown, gets reversed immediately into the fight. Mingyang Zhang gets top mount early. Mingyang landed some really big shots on Walker, but he did just eat them all. His chin looked really good this time around. Big elbows, big shots on the feet. But yeah, he got hurt a few times, but didn't get badly buckled, didn't get chinned. So I don't know, somehow I think after all the KOs, his chin's just getting better. It's maybe... Because I know there's a theory that when you get chinned, it's actually it's the reason you get knocked out is because it stops the person from battering you. That's what I've heard, but maybe Johnny Walker's the next evolution. He's realized, if I don't get chinned, I won't have to eat these big follow-up shots afterwards. So maybe his chin has come back he's gained a chin for the first time in his career. But anyway, second round, he lands one leg kick that just immediately buckles Zhang, and that's it. That's it. He's done. He gets beat up. Walker lands a lot of big back of the head shots, which I don't like. They're illegal, but the judges. I mean, the ref. I just messed judges and refs up. Refs just don't care anymore about it. They just let him do it. Mark Goddard, I don't know what he was doing, but I don't know if I mentioned this for the Aljo fight, but Herb Dean really wanted Brian Ortega to win that fight. He gave him so many opportunities, got the fight back to the feet. He did that fight was literally Herb Dean versus Aljamain Sterling, and it was Herb Dean and Brian Ortega versus Aljamain Sterling. He was giving Brian Ortega so many chances, But the reason I just mentioned that just then is because Mark Goddard like gave Mingyang Zhang so many opportunities in that like fight. He let him take a battering, and Walker landed some big back of the head shots as well during that sequence. But like Mingyang Zhang was done before the back of the head shot started. But Mark Goddard, who typically is an early stoppage type of guy who stops the fights as soon as you know they look hurt, he actually let the fight go pretty long, which makes me believe the Chinese government or something like slid some money and said, if Mingyang Zhang's hurt, let him try and let him survive for as long as possible. Try and get him a win as badly as possible, but it didn't work. Johnny Walker gets the TKO. He calls out Jan Blachowicz. I like the fight. Book the fight. Do it. But crazy. Mingyang Zhang could have been a big star. He could have been massive for China. Could have been big for the UFC. But no, Johnny Walker has to fraud check him. I wouldn't say it's like a complete fraud checking, but like that leg kick just completely busting him up is bad. Because like imagine if that's Carlos Ulberg, Alex Pereira, Jan Blachowicz, like all them guys' leg kicks are much better than Johnny Walker's. So yeah, that is crazy to see. Be interesting to see who they book Mingyang Zhang against next. But yeah, that's a big shame because like Mingyang Zhang like could have been big for China. He could have been like he could match up well against these guys. Like it's not like he got knocked out cold, but like one leg kick like that doing that to you is crazy. But Magomed Ankalaev, he didn't have good leg kick defense against Yan, and he's champion. So maybe Mingyang Zhang can make the improvements. But yeah, losing to Johnny Walker is a bad look considering Johnny Walker's durability issues. But who knows, maybe Johnny Walker's title reign starts now. But anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. Sorry this video may feel a bit rushed, but I've filmed this like 4 or 5 times. I'm really tired. Like I'm literally like got my eyes closed while I'm doing this. This is why I took my video off for this because I'm so tired. I'm going to go to sleep right after this video uploads. So yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Shout out to the Mixed Martial Artist for being the single member of the channel. And yeah, let me know what you guys thought of the card. I'll see you guys next time. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.